Elevate your sports betting game with DGen Gang Sports Discord. Join their community of expert bettors for daily tips, real-time analysis, and an exclusive winning playbook available 24/7. Their seasoned handicappers cover football, basketball, baseball, and soccer, providing deep dives into stats and exclusive picks. Enjoy a 7-day free trial and a 75% discount on your first month by using the code WINTERSALE. That's all one word. Don't leave success to chance. Redefine the game with them at wap.com/dgen-gang. It's not just betting, it's winning with the DGen Gang. Again, that's wap.com/DEGEN-gang.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mailbag here on the WWE Podcast for this Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. And we are going to get to the mailbag as we get to hear from all of you guys on what you thought about, I wonder what people are going to talk about this week. I don't know. I feel like there's a big story. I just can't put my finger on it. But of course, we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about so much more. Which is really up to you guys on what we discuss. I never pre-screen the emails, which is probably super unprofessional of me. I should probably do that where I kind of know what I'm going to talk about. I don't have a clue, but I'm going to guess it's about Mr. Dwayne Johnson, of course, and rightfully so. And so we'll get into that and a bunch of other topics, I'd imagine. You guys don't usually just stick on one topic, so we'll get to all that, and we'll get those patrons out first. If you are a patron, you're going to get to hear your email right in the beginning of the show, although I do have several patron emails, and I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I can in the hour. I don't want to go beyond the hour, so I do ask that you guys keep the emails, is reasonably brief. If you read it out loud and it's more than 3 minutes, scale it back, just because I want to be able to get through this on a timely basis and give everyone a chance to be heard. So before we get there, want to let you guys know that if you want to go ad-free, you guys know where to go. Patreon, of course. Those of you on Patreon know that. But if you want to go on ad-free, get ad-free on Apple. Apple Podcast is the way to go because you not only get everything ad-free, but you get the exclusive After Dark show that's available only on Apple Podcasts and for those on the NXT Plus tier and above on Patreon. So, alrighty, let's dive into those patron emails as we previously discussed, and let's see who's up first. Let's talk to Darren. Darren says, "Hey, WWE Podcast family. I had so much fun being at day one. I even dragged my girlfriend along, and she ended up having fun too. So I'm not going to lie, I did sing Cody's song, but as soon as he started talking, I snapped back into my hatred of his character. We were all ready to explode for a Jey Uso hot tag, but the wrestler's health is much more important. The boos for Dominic were insane. I couldn't even hear what he was trying to say. I was very disappointed when Jinder Mahal came out. I lost my mind when The Rock's music hit. I will say the chant he had us do went on way too long, but as soon as he said, or should The Rock sit at the bar, I was screaming, head of the table, and went crazy when he actually said it. Anyway, I would have called in for this, but I don't have much of a voice now, Darren. Well, that's totally understandable. You went to probably the biggest Raw of the year, outside of maybe even bigger than the Raw after WrestleMania, which in previous couple of years has been really underwhelming. The Raw after WrestleMania the last 2-3 years, I understand COVID was a part of that, but still has been very womp womp. So you may have been at the most exciting Raw of the year, or one of. And that's not saying much given that we just started 2024, but still. And I'm very jealous you got to see The Rock. That is something you may not ever see again, just because of how rare he's on Raw. I mean, when was the last time The Rock was on Raw? Not SmackDown. Raw. Been a long time. And if he's going to face Roman Reigns, it may be the only time he's on Raw, as Roman Reigns is on SmackDown, and he'll probably, as a free agent, just kind of move himself over to SmackDown. So you saw a rare treat, and dragging your girlfriend along, who ended up enjoying the show. Well, I would imagine she did. I mean, with The Rock there, he definitely appeals to the female demographic as well, for different reasons, of course, than for the male audience. But singing Cody's song, I'm not going to hate you for it. Okay, you're not banned from the show. Okay, I'm not going to go that far. In fact, I'm going to give you a nice old pat on the back for hating his character once he started talking, because that's to me when he loses me. So, the Jey Uso hot tag, that must have been pretty scary to see in person, because being a wrestling fan, we know when the X goes up, look out. So certainly a scary moment, but it seems like everything is okay for the moment. And you guys, as Dominic's hometown, may have booed him the loudest, which is saying something. Even I don't know the last time when a heel went to their own hometown, they got booed. I don't know. Maybe CM Punk in Chicago a couple of years ago when he faced MJF, the crowd started to turn on him a little bit. But I mean, it doesn't happen often. So jealous, and get that voice back. Thanks, Darren. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. I've got somebody who went to Raw in Portland, or who's going to Raw in Portland. We'll get to that, Jason, in just a minute. But let's see. We have. Let's see. I promise I'm getting there. Efren. All right, Efren, Noah, and Marshall. Thank you guys for being patrons. Appreciate the support. Now, let's see what Efren has to say. Hello again, sir. So, know that The Rock has acknowledged Roman. Yes, I see what you did there. Being head of the table, do you think that Roman somehow drops the belt before WrestleMania 40, maybe to Randy at the Chamber due to The Rock interference? That way, WrestleMania 40 is a non-title match, but a head of the table match. Then we get CM Punk winning the Chamber, and he can face Rollins at the WrestleMania 40 main event night 1, and main event night 2 would be Cody versus Randy. I love that. Now, I, just like the rest of you, really enjoyed Roman and Cody. I know people are expecting and thinking that the only way Cody can quote-unquote finish his story is to go to WrestleMania and beat Roman in the main event. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I like this a lot because it kills like 3 birds with one stone. Not just 2, because you have a non-title, as it should be with The Rock and Roman. Title in there kind of muddies the waters because, number 1, it's not needed. Number 2, it hurts other guys that could have an opportunity at it that actually may threaten Roman Reigns. It also completely exposes the outcome because The Rock has 0 chance of winning that belt. And it's also not about the belt, there's no good reason anyone could give me outside of, on paper, if the belt's on the line, that has to mean it's more important. Or it makes the match bigger. No, it doesn't. 95% of the time, belts make the matches better, or rather feel bigger. This one does not. So that's a massive plus. No belt with Rock Roman. I have been advocating for that forever. It just comes down to, does WWE want to sacrifice the Hulk Hogan record? So it's obviously up to them. But when it comes to Randy and Cody, absolutely. There is a ton of history, as we all know, in that pairing there, not just with legacy, but before and after they have history. And this would be a whole lot of fun with Cody and Randy. Randy probably would be the one to turn heel, or maybe they just say babyface, but that's a great one as well. And of course, the third one is CM Punk winning the Chamber, and he can face Rollins. So yes, Cody wins the Rumble. He gets his back-to-back, which is rare. He faces Randy, who beats Roman at the Rumble because The Rock interferes and screws Roman. And that's when you finally have a Rock Roman match. It really is. I like this. Really like this. It makes the most sense to me. And I really went in depth on this last night on my Raw review show about the people that are defending the Cody Rhodes match with Roman and foregoing The Rock versus Roman at the Elimination Chamber. And it just makes no sense. The Rock is not coming back for a B pay-per-view. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. So, among a bunch of other reasons that I won't get into, if you want to hear my complete dismantling of that argument that Cody Rhodes should be the one to face Roman in the main event and not The Rock at WrestleMania, and The Rock should face Roman at Elimination Chamber, go listen to last night's show. I hammered that argument pretty hard. So, thank you, Efren and Noah and Marshall, the 3 horse guys. Enjoy yourselves. It's about to get real fun in the world of wrestling. It's already been a blast. Things are going to get even crazier. The Rock, I think he recently stated, this is just the beginning. So, all right, let's get to Freeman. He says, quick mailbag this week. I appreciate that. Does anyone know how many times Damian Priest has failed to cash in? Is this a normal amount? And what's the record? Feels to me like he should hold it. Well, if there was a belt for a number of failed cash-in attempts, he probably would be the undisputed champion. It's kind of funny. Maybe they just give him like the 24/7 title as some kind of consolation prize for it. That's funny. Yeah, I guess. How about attempted cash-ins? Because a failed cash-in would mean that he cashed it in and lost the match. So I know what you mean, though. Attempted failed attempts at a cash-in. How about that? I know what you meant. But he has to hold it. Well, what's it been, like 5-6 times? Probably. Someone go back and look. I'm not going to do the legwork on that. I'm too lazy. But he's got to hold the record. And he is one of the few that have held it for more than just a couple months. Usually WWE can't help themselves, especially when it comes to the women. The women cash in usually that night. They just can't help themselves. Io held it. I forget how long she held it. It wasn't very long. And cashed in and won. And then, Liv Morgan cashed in that night on Ronda Rousey a couple years ago. Remember that? So, but for the men, they're being very patient with Damian. I don't hate this at all. This is a lot of fun. But no, it's not normal. No. But fun. And he'd be the champion. All right, next patron. Anthony. He says, good morning from California. The Rock is back. Or is he? I'm not convinced until he actually begins a program with Roman. This seems to be The Rock's new place. He shows up to an eventual TV show, does his eyebrow thing, says the things, and then beats on a B-level heel. It boosts ratings, it gets the crowd worked up, but it isn't scheduled down the line. I know, he said head of the table. He teased it last year with that scene on Young Rock and nothing. He said all that nonsense in Colorado and nothing. I can't buy into this because of one sentence. He's done this before. I know this time will be different, but will it? When Cena came back, we knew for a fact he would be there for about 2 months. No such plan for The Rock has been announced. And the promo was a total low-hanging fruit, having Jinder, a typical, quote, foreign heel, trash this U.S. city, which has a large military presence, a naval base in San Diego, and having The Rock come to the rescue was way too basic. And lest we not forget, A-hole, D-bag, and SOB being uttered in this PG era. What's next? Kids doing crotch chops during breaks? Shameful. Yeah, imagine that. I mean, could you imagine WWE promoting children doing the DX crotch chops on commercial breaks and live events? I mean, that'd be absurd. Matt, I feel like I'm that friend who keeps telling you to stop chasing this girl that just doesn't want you. That's something I'm actually kind of eerily familiar with in high school. That's another topic for another day. I feel like you just hit on a after dark topic. Whew. I'm 38 and sometimes some things still sting, don't they? Anyway, The Rock just doesn't want this, but it's okay. I'll be here in May after Mania to tell you it's okay, buddy. There are other matches out there that will actually happen and appreciate you. Keep up the good work and we'll see how this plays out. P.S. What the hell was JD talking about? Every member of the Judgment Day has been on Miz TV. You'd think he could keep that straight in that giant head of his. Well, thanks, Anthony. It's okay. Beyond the just stinging of chasing girls and not getting them, which again is a sore subject for me in high school. I will say, yeah, it was a typical setup, kind of a setting the table, if you will, of foreign heel trashes the city. But it's a tried and true method. It works every time. It may not be original. It may not be exciting, but it effing works. And it's really just a means to an end, which is The Rock coming out there. But here's what I'll say that's different about this. This is the first time The Rock has teased it on WWE TV. That's the difference. It's not in some third party. It's not in some on Pat McAfee's podcast. It's not in Young Rock. It's not in some random Instagram post or whatever. This is on WWE TV. He knew exactly what he was doing. He recently said this is just the beginning. I forget where he said that, but he just said that. It's happening. It's happening. Could you imagine the fans at this point thinking to themselves, or having it not happen? The fans would be like, what? You can't pull back now. Barring some catastrophic injury to Roman or Rock, it's happening. I know that you don't think it is because we've been here before, but we haven't been here before. We have not been here before where The Rock on WWE national or international television teases the match with Roman. It has not even the announcers. You listen to Wade Barrett. He also pushed the story forward by telling the Roman Reigns to call Paul Heyman right after that segment. Or rather, Paul Heyman called Roman Reigns. That's the difference. It's on. It's on. But yeah, the whole a-hole D-bag SOB, I mean, I don't find it funny. The Rock does. People enjoy doing it. I just, not my thing. But yeah, The Rock, here's the thing. Also about the schedule, and we knew Cena was going to be there for 2 weeks, or 2 months rather, and that was a lot of fun having Cena back for that short period of time. We're not always going to know what their schedules are. And I don't know if I want to know. Just because you're not hearing about it doesn't mean it's not happening. Cena was an exception. It's very much the exception than the rule. We don't know what people's contracts say. I mean, we have no idea. But I'm on board for this. It's happening. There's just no way that they would tease and advertise this on television and then not deliver. It's game on. Game on. So, but hey, if not, at least I have a buddy there to kind of pat me on the back and tell me there'll be a match for you too, buddy. Everybody has a match, right? All right. It's really a miracle I met my wife, I have to say. A miracle. Which, by the way, I met her on Match.com. That's a real true story. We're one of those Match success stories. Another story for another day. It's been totally smooth sailing since. Trust me. Hear the sarcasm in my voice? All right. We got some more patrons. This is Alex the French guy. And he says, remember the pipe bomb? And I quote, "The fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania next year makes me sick. We love you, Punk, but he is this year as well." That's actually, I saw a lot of memes like that where somebody superimposed Cody Rhodes' face on CM Punk's face when he was sitting cross-legged on the ramp for the infamous pipe bomb promo with Cody saying those words now. But it is hilarious that the very thing that one of the things that Punk was complaining about on his way out is the thing that's still happening now, that Rock is still in the main event of WrestleMania. 10 years later, it's still going on. And then he said, when Vince McMahon dies, or, which obviously he hasn't, but he stepped aside, that it'll get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law. Well, the idiotic daughter thing didn't recently in the last couple of years has faded, but the doofus son-in-law took it. So everything that Punk said in that infamous promo is still happening. I love this. Thanks, Alex. I needed a laugh. All right, Shahar, let's see what you got. Hi, Matt. Happy New Year to you and your family. Hope everything is fine. About day one, I have to say I'm a bit torn. On one hand, the segment with The Rock was electrifying, And when he said he should sit at the head of the table, I had goosebumps all over me. I guess you got confirmation that you've been waiting for. The Rock versus Roman is actually happening. The real question now is where and when. I'm sure you heard about the recent reports and the Australian government is trying to get The Rock to appear at Elimination Chamber. Do you think it can actually take place there and not at WrestleMania? If it does take place there, the title should not be on the line. Well, the title shouldn't be on the line, Shahar, I don't think, at any point with The Rock involved. Unless The Rock is, for some reason, planning on staying with WWE for 6 to 12 months. Unlikely, but that's the only way I'd accept it. There's no way and no reason to have The Rock in a title match. And the biggest reason is not because, The Rock's not deserving. It's because it's not needed, and it totally foreshadows the outcome because you know The Rock's not winning the belt. Not at this stage, But I heard about the Australian government lobbying for The Rock, as they should. He's a draw. He brought in, this is a fact, if you look at the ratings, if people care about such things, he brought in 250,000 extra viewers while he was out on camera. That's 250,000, okay? And they were doing a 1.6. It spiked to a 2.1 during that time. And tell me if Cody Rhodes would have done the same thing. I know that people are saying it makes more sense for Cody Rhodes to be with Roman Reigns and he would actually be a threat to take the belt. I totally agree. But WWE is a for-profit organization. More viewers means more money. Cody Rhodes ain't spiking the ratings like The Rock is. Cody Rhodes is not a needle mover. The Rock is. And it's just simply a better matchup from the money perspective and honestly story. You could rival the story with these two, given how long they've known each other, the family ties, where they started, the Rumble back in 2015. You could really pull on a lot of stuff, but I'm getting off track, Shahar, so I apologize. The Rock appearing at Elimination Chamber, he still could. But what about him in a tag match? They did that on the road to John Cena versus The Rock, if you remember that. John Cena and The Rock teamed against Awesome Truth before WrestleMania. You could have The Rock and Roman team up. What about that? I don't know. Something wacky like that. Or The Rock does appear in some non-wrestling capacity. Either way, The Rock is probably going to be in Australia. It's just a matter of what's he doing. It's not in a title match. It's not against Roman Reigns. That's a WrestleMania match only. So you could still have him there, just in a tag match or as a referee or a special enforcer or just appears or whatever. All right. Well, on the other hand, I had two disappointments from the day one event. One, I really hoped Becky would get the win over Nia. Not just because she's my idol, but because Becky deserves more than this humiliating spot under the thighs of Nia. I mean, with all due respect, Becky is the biggest superstar in the Raw women's division, and she accomplished more than any woman there. That includes Rhea. So I expect her to get the respect she deserves. Instead, she's being put in the same spot like Raquel, Shayna, and Zoe. I can only hope this loss will lead to a grand victory on a bigger stage, maybe the Rumble nonetheless. If we are planning on Becky versus Rhea at WrestleMania, Becky has to get the win over Nia first. Well, we're a ways away from the WrestleMania. I mean, and plus, Becky Lynch is, at this point in her career, she's so accomplished and locked in. She's a future Hall of Famer she's a Hall of Famer right now. She's not a future. She is a Hall of Famer right now if we ended her career today. So there's really not a whole lot you could do to really damage her where it would totally throw her off track and fans wouldn't believe she's a top tier talent. She's at that kind of Teflon part of her career. Nia's not. Rhea's not. Shayna's not. Raquel and Zoe are not. Becky is. She's helping talent get over. To me, I actually agree with Nia winning that, and not because I'm not a Becky fan or believe she's a bigger star and maybe the biggest star on the roster, but because it helped elevate a talent and it didn't hurt Becky. I know you think it did in this loss. Becky could cut a promo next week and get you riled up and believing that she's going to come back and better than ever. She really could do that in just a single promo. I'm not worried about this at all. I think Rhea and Becky will still feel a whole lot of fun. She'll feel like a legitimate threat to Rhea. I still believe Rhea is not going to drop the belt even at WrestleMania. I think Rhea is going to go right into the summer with the belt. But they could easily have this continue up to the Chamber and have Becky Lynch beat Nia Jax at the Chamber, and this loss to her on day one of Raw will be long forgotten. So this, to me, is a blip on the radar if you're concerned about Becky Lynch. The blood on her mouth really kind of solidified her again. I really don't have an issue with that. Yeah. Plus, it makes people hate Nia Jax even more. And Nia Jax has become relevant. She has arguably had her biggest match to date in the company. Think about this. I'll just end with this. Becky winning would not have yielded as much of a benefit for both of those talents compared to Nia Jax winning. Because if Becky wins, okay, she's expected to beat Nia. Nia kind of gets put back in where we think she should be. Becky Lynch moves on. Instead, you have Becky lose, which is really, most people didn't predict that. It's a little bit surprising. Bloody mouth. Nia Jax wins clean. That's the key. And people are like, what the hell? It's to try to set up Nia as a real force. Probably to eventually face Jade Cargill. Right? You got to think about that too. Becky's not hurt by this. This will long be forgotten. I promise you. All right, number 2. I was sure like you that Drew would finally get the World Heavyweight Championship from Seth. Honestly, I'm tired of Seth's title run. It got boring as hell, and I'm tired of his entrance music and his excessive outfits. When Drew hit the Claymore on Seth after taking out Damian and Dom, I really thought that was it, and it was really frustrating. My only hope is that Seth will lose the title at the Rumble, but unfortunately most chance it wouldn't be Drew to take. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like Drew's going to take it, but here's what I'm most interested in. Drew's character arc now that he lost again. Drew, I think I saw a stat. He's lost the last 12 title matches he's been in. Something crazy. So, I mean, I'll just take that at face value. This is a character-changing loss for Drew. And I mean that in a good way. I'm not worried about Drew. In fact, even in this loss, I'm excited to see where his character goes now, because it's got to be down the chute. It's got to go into a dark place. Drew is going to find himself in a very dark place very quickly. And he's not going to be this kind of, he's still kind of a good guy. He talks about his family. No. He's going to go to the dark side. And I'm all here for it, because where else can his character go? He has to slip in some kind of depression. It's going to be fun. But I agree. Seth Rollins' title run, it's kind of more than run its course. I agree. And that's saying something compared to Roman's run, right? But he's been champion since May. That's a long time in normal title reign, times. When you take Roman Reigns out of it, it's a long title reign by today's standards. And so I'm with you. I'm ready for Seth to drop it. No, I'm just ready. And I think fans are too. All right. Thank you, Shahar. Let's get to... Let's see, where we're going. Whisper in the Wind. Ian. Let's go. He says, hey, Maddie. Maddie. Oh, boy. Yeah. Has anyone here called me Maddie before? I see your previous email, Ian. I think you're the only one that calls me that. I really don't like when WWE will make a real life event and try to make it happen again in storytelling. For example, Becky Lynch having the blood from the punch she got. It's not believable. Seth with his back. Can you name another instance? Just my opinion. Well, apparently the mouth blood with Becky was real. It was not caused by the punch from Nia, but rather from her slipping on the ropes or something like that. And I've got a whole lot of hell from people on Twitter or X about saying, that Becky Lynch again ends up with a bloody face at the end of a Nia Jax match. And, people are all over me. Oh, that Nia's improved. Oh my God. I'm not even going to respond. It's funny seeing people just go, completely out of their minds over my comment about Nia Jax, which 5 seconds earlier, most of these people were saying Nia Jax shouldn't win, and nobody wants her in WWE, right? So anyway, yeah, I mean, Seth with his back, all that stuff. What they're trying to do is add an element of realism, and I appreciate that. But so, like, why don't you? I guess I'd have to ask, why don't you like it when they bring in a real life event? Because you don't believe them? You're just gonna. I mean, why? And I'm genuinely asking, because for me, I like it, but only if they implement it correctly. Like your example with Seth's back. We were told, because of Shinsuke Nakamura, who exposed Seth's health, that he is, an inch away from paralysis, essentially, right? That his back is hanging on by a thread. That was the narrative for how many weeks with Seth Rollins. And match after match, his back was targeted to the point where even if his back was 100% healthy, he should have a back injury. I mean, all the things that were done to Seth's back, if his back was truly that damaged, he should be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. But instead, there was no selling of the back, yet we were always told during every match, oh man, his back is hanging on by a thread, he's running himself into the ground. And he's still coming out there, even after the match with Shinsuke, the 2 matches with Shinsuke, he's still walking out there just fine, even though his back was targeted the whole match. And it's like, why even tell the story about his back if, he's not even going to sell it? The announcers were talking about it. It was a big thing in the story, but when push came to shove, it's clear that this is a bunch of BS. But maybe that's what you're talking to. How can we picture Drew as champion in 2024? He's going to have to do some crazy heel stuff to get the title. It's just bad timing for him with the star power. Yeah, Drew once again is in a weird spot. I am all for this heel turn. I think he will go dark. He has to with this character. But it doesn't seem like right now Drew could be a champion right now. But I wouldn't totally throw that away, only because depending on the character change that Drew goes through here, I mean, I guess he still could be a contender for Seth's belt. And we don't know what the match is for the World Championship at the Royal Rumble yet, if it's defended at all. I mean, I would imagine you have Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, obviously Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre in a fatal 4-way. If that happens, Drew is, I think, a very good favorite to win that at the Rumble. So that's just my speculation. I don't know what the match is yet with the world title. All right. I love the rant you and Anthony had on AEW. I'll never complain about the star power WWE has recently, especially with how bad it was during the COVID years. But with more potential signings like MJF and Andrade, there's only so much TV time. Your thoughts? Yeah, there is only so much TV time, but doesn't that raise the bar for everyone? Meaning, if there's more talent available, but still the same amount of TV time that can be filled, that means they're going to have more to choose from. Everyone's going to raise their game and push themselves to be on TV. It creates more competition, within the company itself, within the brand, within that specific TV show. So, yeah, there's only so much to go around, but how many times do you see Raw and you just feel like there's like 30, 40, sometimes longer minutes of just filler? If they don't get rid of that third hour, there's more than enough to fill it with quality wrestling and star power. So I don't have any issues with that. I don't think they'll ever reach a point where there's too many stars. That's kind of a problem I don't think will ever exist for any company, or really any sports team, if you want to extrapolate that into actual competitive sports. Like the New York Yankees aren't going to say, oh man, we just have too much talent. We have too many all-stars. What are we going to do? It's only 9 innings. Yeah, we only get 3 outs. It's kind of that kind of problem. But I understand what you're saying. I absolutely understand what you're saying, Ian. I just don't think they'll ever get to the point where that's an actual problem. All right, one last thing. I'll be hitting a year of sobriety on the Rumble pay-per-view. Your podcast has definitely got me through some tough times over the past year and wanted to thank you for that. Much love, Ian. Well, Ian, man, really good to hear. I am, I have luckily not had any issue with drugs, alcohol or otherwise. I mean, I had my party years, let's be honest. A lot of us do, especially in college, and some hang on to it a little after. I could see how people get addicted to that, though. It's the feeling. It's always chasing that feeling. I get it. But that's awesome. You hitting a year of sobriety. I'm sure it hasn't been an easy year. I'm sure there's times where you may be sitting alone or you're maybe whatever, and you're like, you have those thoughts, and you just gotta keep on rolling, baby. And did I just quote, what was that? Limp Bizkit? Oh my God. But I mean, what you got a kid now, you got to think of them. So I'm not your psychologist. If you've made it a year, you've clearly found a formula that works. So, really cool. All right, let's continue. Let's get to another patron, Miller. Haven't heard from you in a while, buddy, since October, but, let's see what he's got to say today. He says, how is it, Matt and WWE podcast? Happy New Year to everyone. All the best for 2024. I'd like to share with everyone that Miller here from the beautiful South Africa got engaged this weekend to the love of my life. I just thought of an amazing, definitely. Okay. Wait. You transitioned to, okay. You transitioned to wrestling. I missed that. First of all, yes. Happy New Year. Congratulations. You got engaged. It's a big deal. Big deal. Here's what I will say. As I recently discovered a really massive mistake in my life, get the engagement ring insured. Okay, I don't know if the insurance companies in Australia, or rather Australia, South Africa are different, right? But insure that ring. I don't know how much you spent, but whatever it is, it's probably expensive. Insure it. Why am I telling you that? Well, number one, it's a good idea. But number two, I experienced just over the last couple of months, the painful realization, the painful lesson of not insuring my wife's engagement ring that I got her 8 years ago, whatever it is now. We lost it. We accidentally threw it out. I canceled the insurance a couple years before thinking, I don't need it. And the insurance was like $100 for the year. So trust me when I tell you, and anybody in the sound of my voice, if you have an engagement ring that you bought your wife or your fiance, get it insured. Trust me, it's worth the $100 a year. Okay. All right. So no one else has to experience the pain. Okay. The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. The bloodline interferes as expected and starts destroying The Rock, but then you hear the glass shatter. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, stuns the bloodline, including Heyman and Reigns. Rock takes advantage, wins the match, and takes the head of the table. Well, you're right up my alley, Miller. It sounds like an Attitude Era finish to me. I love it because it's Stone Cold facing off against one of the biggest factions in WWE history, and they are. At WrestleMania, coming out to save The Rock. I love that. I just don't want the title on the line, as I've said. It's just about pride and family and that kind of thing. That's cool. So yes, bring it on. Bring the stunners, bring the beer, bring it all. I love that. So, alrighty. A couple more patrons, and then we'll be on to the voicemails here. Last week, this is from Zach. Last week, I brought up R-Truth in the Judgment Day. I'm fully invested. I was wrong about it being exactly like Sammy in the Bloodline, but I'll say that the goal is pretty similar, to implode and cause friction. I still think they can drag this story out even further. Maybe Damian and Truth should grow to get along. It's mostly comedy right now, but I think the story can get more serious as the fans get more invested. Plus, it'll keep the group relevant for 2024. Remember that the Sami Zayn story started off as an experiment. Thoughts? But Sami Zayn's also like 20 years younger than Truth. You know what I mean? Like Sami Zayn's like late 30s. I think Truth's in his mid 50s. So give or take a few years of 20 years. You got a little more gas in the tank when you're in your 30s than when you're 50s. But both are organically loved by the fans. I'll give you that. That's a similarity. Both are babyfaces infiltrating heel groups. I agree. But I don't think they're looking at this Truth thing as, see how far this can take us until the fans get bored, and then, we'll move on. With Sami, it was kind of like, well, maybe we see something here. Let's keep it going, and it kept going and going. I'm all for an R-Truth title victory. I'm all for an R-Truth, eventual, maybe he's the catalyst for the Judgment Day completely imploding. Maybe. It's possible. But I think with Sami, it's different because he also there was a goal there. You wanted to see him take down Roman Reigns. With R-Truth, it's not that feeling of, oh man, I hope he takes out Damian Priest. I hope he takes out Finn Balor. I hope he takes out JD McDonough. Like, there's no big boss for him to conquer. You know what I mean? I see the similarities. I feel them. It's just not quite the same. But I'm all for it. I'm with you on keep it going. It is a fun story. The awesome Truth reunion, Truth and his delusions of being part of the blood or being part of the Judgment Day. It's all fun. I agree that it's been a blast. All right, let's see here. I know we don't have a. Oh, I say we don't have a ton more. I told you guys there are a lot of emails as expected. So I may get to just a couple more of the patrons, and then maybe I'll just switch over to voicemails. Let's see here. So I got to get to DJ Kuzmo. He says he's back at it again for the first mailbag of 2024. And he wants to flip the script and not talk about WWE tonight, but just mention two things. MJF and the future of AEW. After watching the conclusion of MJF and Samoa Joe at World's End and seeing a new champion crowned in Samoa Joe, it's pretty much looks like Max is not returning to AEW, and then he most likely will end up in WWE. It's just a matter of when. From watching AEW back in early 2020 until now, I have seen the progression of Max from being a mid-card level heel aligning with Wardlow to feuding with Cody to aligning then with and feuding with Jericho to main eventing with Moxley, feuding with Wardlow and feuding with Punk. And then he finally became champion in 2022. For all those milestones and accomplishments, he has really outgrown AEW. There really isn't anything for him left to do in that company. So I wish Max the best in the future, best going forward. Now to AEW and its future. As they are in their 5th year of existence, the company needs to consistently build up new stars like they did earlier in the years before 2021, not always having to bring in the former WWE talent. Sometimes it looks like the former talent is just outshining the current AEW talent. Just my opinion. AEW used to have shows like Dark and Dark Elevation weekly airing on YouTube where they would showcase up-and-coming talent on a weekly basis on an hour to 90-minute format. But for whatever reason, those shows got canceled. And anyway, before I go on a tangent, I don't want to see AEW cease to exist because having a variety in pro wrestling is good for everyone. Fans, bookers, advertising, and wrestling promotions. Anyway, DJ Kuzma signing off. Yeah, I'd agree. I'll continue to say this. If you're a WWE fan and you want AEW to go out of business, I don't really believe you're a wrestling fan. I understand there's brand loyalty, but like, what is AEW threatening with WWE? They're not going to put them out of business. These are not the Monday Night Wars where they were truly competing for their jobs. It's not that way right now. It's like it's owning an iPhone and wishing Android didn't exist. Well, why? What do you have to gain from Android not existing? But competition, or rather variety breeds competition. So All right. Well, yeah. I mean, as far as MJF, I've discussed this at length. I really hope and believe he will be in WWE in 2024. He does feel like a big fish in a small pond. He feels like he's outgrown it. That's exactly the way it is. The only thing is they could have removed him from the AEW website of active wrestlers as a work, and him being betrayed by Adam Cole, with Cole being revealed as the devil. That is easily the start of a story with those two as foes instead of as teammates. So they left the door open still there. I really don't know what's going to happen. I've also heard that, MJF needs shoulder surgery and that he wants to take time off. He's beat up. He's left us with like 3 different paths to go, and he knows it. So thank you so much there, DJ. And interested to hear your Mahan report this week, or rather the Jinder Mahal, maybe the Jinder Mahal report. We'll get to that. Alrighty, let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's anything. I'm trying to see if the emails here that are left are quick. So let's see if they are. Let's see. I have Jason. Okay, so Jason, you're going to Portland, Raw in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, so let's see here. I'll read your email quickly. This is James Miller from Oregon. Our big Christmas present to the kids this year is tickets to Monday Night Raw in Portland this coming Monday. This will be the first live show for all of us, and we'll be sitting row B, not on the floor, on the TV side. So we should get lots of TV time. We've been working on our signs for the show. My kids listened to your podcast and wanted to make a sign that said, Cody Rhodes, we don't want you to talk about anything. Okay. First of all, your kids are awesome. Second, I thought about putting something like that on a sign, but there's too many words. That's why when I went, I just put turn Cody heel. To me, it's like 3 words or less. If you have any more than that, the camera's not going to be able to pick it up. It goes by too quickly. I'm all for that sign, but somehow you got to condense it. I don't know how to. I thought about that too. The only thing I could come up with was turn Cody heel. It's got to be quick. It's got to be fast. It's got to be to the point. And that's all I could come up with. But, hey, if you have multiple people, maybe like in the whole row, that each want to hold a sign that has a word, like one person holds Cody, the next person holds Rhodes, the next person holds we don't want to talk about anything, like the whole row. If you can convince that whole row of people, then do it, man. That would be awesome. All right. I told them that we need to only make positive signs for baby faces. I'm sure everyone will be singing Cody's music once he comes out to face Shinsuke. We do have a sign that says JD represents the Lollipop Guild. That's funny. With McDonough in a munchkin outfit carrying a lollipop. So look for that. And when we see the Judgment Day, I will. That's really funny. That's really funny. My wife really hopes the Rock shows up, but I'm thinking we'll only get him in a video at best. We will get a CM Punk appearance, and hopefully someone gets in the ring with him to face off on the mics and start a program. Yeah, I would kind of, as you did, tamper your wife's expectations. It is very unlikely that the Rock appears next week. It was, first of all, he's in a program. He's about to enter a program with Roman Reigns, who's on SmackDown. So if anything, SmackDown is the brand to be on if we want The Rock to possibly appear. So there's almost no chance. And he just showed up. Even when he gets into his program officially with Roman, he's going to be there like once a month. So you're not only on the wrong brand, you're on the wrong time. So if he shows up next week, I'll be floored. So you'll get a lot of video of it. While you're sitting in the crowd during the commercial breaks, they're going to replay that moment of The Rock appearing like 80 times. And it's just going to anger you because you're going to sit there and go, why can't that be this week? I was in that position when I went to Raw. I saw all the things that happened and were about to happen. And they said, next week, Punk shows up next week. Or Randy Orton's going to be on SmackDown. Punk's going to be on SmackDown this week. I remember like, man, I chose the worst possible Raw to come to. Sometimes you hit it right, sometimes you don't. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, you'll definitely get CM Punk for sure. All right. Also hoping we see the return of the End of Sheer in Portland. because we know DJ Kuzma will be going nuts. Yeah, absolutely. DJ will if he had the Indus return, DJ is going to be a happy man. Absolutely. Anyway, look for 3 young boys having the time of their lives along with their parents in Row B. Thanks for all your hard work on the podcast. Happy New Year. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy yourself with the boys. I have a 5-year-old boy that I don't know how young your kids are, but mine's 5. And he knows what kind of wrestling is, but doesn't know really any of the characters. And I'm trying to convince my wife that it's a good thing to get him into, you know. So I also have a 2-year-old girl. I'm not going to really indoctrinate her yet. You know, she's too busy climbing everything and can't pay attention to something for more than 5 seconds. So yeah. But enjoy yourself. I'll be watching for the JD represents the Lollipop Guild in Row B. Good stuff. Thanks, Jason. All right. Let's see. I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling nice here. I'm feeling nice. Let's get to Ollie. And Ollie says from Australia, "Hey, Matt, hope your year is going well so far. I've enjoyed your podcast since just before WrestleMania 34, apart from a year break I took from wrestling during the Thunderdome era." Wow. You've been listening to me for 6 years? You're not sick of me yet? Wow. All right. Well, I appreciate that, Ollie. All right. I already read that. Anyway, enough blabbering. I have a fantasy booking I came up with on how Rock could come back for Mania. All right. Well, this was clearly sent before The Rock appeared. You sent this to me on December 28th. So this is before Rock came up to Raw, but I'll read it anyway for fun to see what your idea was. I know many of us are sick of the theories and just want the real thing, but I think this could be the best way to do it while setting up other matches. With what happened on SmackDown with AJ, Randy, Roman, and Knight, I was thinking while listening to the Week in Review and thought they could do a Fatal 4-Way at the Rumble, have whoever wins, probably Knight, and after the match, Roman, AJ, Solo, and Jimmy attack Randy and Knight. This could lead to Jimmy coming out and facing off with Jay, setting up a match with those two. And then The Rock comes out and saves to make the save and faces off with Roman, setting up for WrestleMania. Do you think this could work, or have I overbooked it? Thanks for your time and the entertainment all these years. Have a great year. Well, thank you, Alia. It's so crazy that people listen to me. Like, I'm sitting here in upstate New York in my office, and I'm like, I have no clue who's listening to me. But again, if this didn't happen the way it did with The Rock coming out on Monday, I don't dislike this either. And here's the thing. I actually wish that this happened more organically. I'm already nitpicking the program and it hasn't even started. I wish that this didn't just have The Rock suddenly decide to pick a fight with Roman. You know what I mean? Like out of nowhere, The Rock's just like, yeah, I want to fight Roman. I'm like, why? I feel like Roman should have set the table. You know what I mean? I feel like he should have been the one to talk about his family, run down the family, how he's the head of the family, and people need to bow to him in the family. Like, start getting personal. That'll bring out The Rock to defend the family, and then take the reins, no pun intended, from Roman, and be the true head of the table for the family. Instead, all of a sudden, The Rock's just coming out there and he's like, "Yeah, what if I'm hungry? What if I sit at the head of the table?" It's like Rock is picking the fight. Now, in the end, we're going to get the match we wanted, which is wonderful. But the setup for me, if I could fantasy book, would have been something like you're mentioning, Ollie, something along those lines where The Rock is forced to come out to help the baby faces or defend the honor of his family. So, thank you. Thanks, Ollie. Thanks for the support all these years. Okay. Let's see here. Let's get to, I promise there's only, let's see, 1, 2, maybe 2 more. Let's talk to Seth. This might be no, I have one more comment after this, and then that'll be it. Yes, I think. I lie. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see how awful I can lie. All right, this is Seth. Seth says, the stupidity of emotional fans wanting Roman Rock at Chamber or Cody versus Roman over Rock Roman at WrestleMania is ridiculous. This is a money match. They need to shut up about Cody because obviously his story isn't over. Cody has plenty of chances to get that storybook ending. The story between Rock and Roman is a one-time only thing. We're getting close to the end of this heel run for Roman. You can't go into WrestleMania 41 next year booking babyface Roman versus babyface Rock. It has to be the heel bloodline leader Roman versus The Rock. That's it. Triple H has to pull the trigger. We'll never get to this again. That's what I say, along with many other fans. Roman should drop the Undisputed Championship at the Rumble due to Rock's interference. Yes. I mean, I'm in lockstep with you so far, Seth. We get Cody winning the Rumble again. Next night on Raw, maybe we get Randy Orton congratulating Cody, similar to how Randy welcomed Edge back in 2020. And then Orton turns on Cody with a punt kick, leaving all the fans thinking Cody may be out of action until after WrestleMania. And Cody eventually returns before WrestleMania to get his revenge and finish his story at WrestleMania in the process. The story is there. On Rock versus Roman, just leave it at that for the main event of night 2, non-title. Who cares about getting past Hogan? The story writes itself. WWE can also have Punk versus Rollins before Rock versus Roman. This is all common sense and how it should go. WWE probably knows this, but the fans are too emotional and caught up in Cody's story, bitter about his loss to Roman last year. Get over it. Cody doesn't need to beat Roman to finish his story. Okay, Seth, you win Listener of the Night. Exactly. I really don't know what more to add to this. I understand there's a lot of Cody fans out there. I have nothing against you. Just because I'm not a fan of his babyface character doesn't mean I understand why you like him. But also, there's really no debate. There is nothing to debate when it comes to what match will make more money. And I know that's not something the fans particularly care about because they're not invested in that. They don't particularly care about that. They just want what they want. Rock Roman is simply a bigger money match. End of discussion. That's it. And Cody certainly can face Randy Orton for the title at WrestleMania. There's a ton of history there. And we could have Cody Rhodes beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania for that Undisputed Championship. And there we go. And then Roman can come and go as he please. Hell, Roman could be out for 6 months. I wouldn't care. Wouldn't have a bad thing to say about it. Because the belt isn't being held hostage anymore. So, good stuff, Seth. Appreciate that. All right, a mailbag comment from Milan. It says, Happy New Year. I think The Rock's head of the table mention was nothing more than planting a seed for a story further down the line. Not immediately at WrestleMania. I think Cody wins the Rumble, challenges and beats Roman at WrestleMania. Roman loses his cool and starts destroying everyone and everything in sight. He goes after his brothers. Rikishi even comes out and realizes Roman's totally lost. At the height of his meltdown, The Rock enters. He says Roman's embarrassing himself as the head of the table and challenges him at SummerSlam. I think Roman wins with Solo's help somehow, but afterwards, Roman realizes he's done wrong and has an emotional embrace with The Rock. The crowd goes crazy, setting up Roman's babyface Solo, or babyface turn. Solo, though, isn't on board with it, and Roman versus Solo is the story to focus on. Also, where does Drew go from here? I feel like the best booking was him winning the belt. And that's lost. I'm not sure what their plans are. It's clearly set up for Seth and Punk at Mania for the title. What are your thoughts, Milan? Well, thank you, Milan. I'm really not worried about Drew. As I've said, they could do a fatal 4-way at the Rumble for the world title with Drew involved and have Drew win without Seth being involved in the decision. Therefore, Seth is not hurt. Again, you could have Jay, Seth, Drew, and Sami Zayn in the fatal 4-way for the world title. All 4 men. And Drew ends up Claymore kicking Sami Zayn, gets the victory. There we go. We got a heel Drew as world champion. Now when it comes to The Rock and SummerSlam and not being involved, let me say this. Could you imagine Cody Rhodes faces Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? There's a meltdown by Roman the next night on Raw, and The Rock comes out. I think people might boo. Or at least it would be kind of a very puzzling reaction because I think people would be like, wait a minute. You couldn't make it for WrestleMania, but you're here now? What, we got to wait another year for this? I think it would. I don't think the timing would be really good. I know you're saying SummerSlam, and they've turned WrestleMania or SummerSlam into the WrestleMania of the summer. I understand that, but I think that it's, you know, you're at that perfect point where you start to plant the seeds for your WrestleMania matches right now. And he planted it. I really don't believe that this is a tease for WrestleMania 41. Very much unlikely. It's now. I don't know what else to say. But Milan, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. All right. This is okay. I see emails. People send me emails, but they say this is not for the mailbag. So I have, this is the final email. Yeah, it is. Okay. This is relatively short from Thomas. And Tom from Vancouver, Canada. Hello, WWE podcast family. I wanted to start by saying, yes, I'm a huge Cody supporter. Haven't seen a babyface like him since Hulk Hogan, and sure am loving his chase to finish the story. I fully agree with you that he wins at Chamber and Rock Roman is WrestleMania. I just wanted to be discussed as to if The Rock can make this his, quote, final match he's proud of. He was winded after his segment with Jinder. So will this be his Shawn Michaels 2018 crown jewel all over again? Please let us know your thoughts, as seeing head of the table match is the most wanted list on the list for me, but at what cost? Thank you, man. Well, thank you, Tom from Vancouver. This is not going to be a Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement embarrassing tag team match. The Rock is in extraordinary shape. Every time we see him, it's somehow he's in better shape, which is just impossible. And honestly, you know, when it comes to The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, and you're worried about him being winded, I know there was a lot of talk about The Rock being winded, and it's adrenaline, man. I'm not worried about The Rock's cardio. I'm really not. It's going to be a slower paced match, as it should be. These guys aren't going to be doing, you know, Hurricane Ranas. Okay, they're not going to be diving over the top rope at each other. At least The Rock ain't going to be doing that, nor should he. Every match doesn't need to be flip-flop and fly. These are two heavyweights. They should act like it. Slower paced, power moves, explosion at times to up the pace and then slow it back down. It's called, as Vince would say, bringing him on a ride. That's what it is. So I'm not worried about The Rock blowing up cardio-wise. He can't breathe. He's winded. Sucking air. No, The Rock's going to come very much prepared. Very much. And he's got 3 months to make himself even in more at the peak of his cardiovascular abilities at this point in his life. I'm not worried about it at all. But thank you, Thomas. Okay, that does it for me on the whole mail side of things. I know I'm going over the hour, but it was a big week in WWE, so I'm going to let it slide. Let's now get to the voicemails. Let's go right now, guys. Here we go.
WWE Podcast World, this is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag Show. Record to you live on a Wednesday morning, or of course a very chilly Wednesday morning. And before we get to an exciting Veer Mahan report, I must reply back to a question, the $1 million question that Matt mentioned last week on the Mailbag. How did DJ Kuzmo find out about the WWE Unofficial Podcast? And you know what the answer is? Very simple. Can you guess it? Well, I opened a podcast app. I think this was about 2019, late 2019. I was getting back into podcasting, and of course, I love professional wrestling and getting it back into WWE. I opened up my favorite podcast app, and I just typed the words WWE and podcast. And guess what happened? Matt's podcast was at the top of the results list. And here I am today. We're now in 2024, so Happy New Year. I've been listening to this beautiful, great podcast and all of the great shows. Now let's get to your favorite show to come with every single week on the Mailbag. And I'm talking about the Veer Mahan Report. Now, the Veer Mahan Report took place this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, live from San Diego, California, the hometown of Rey Mysterio, and of course, the very first episode of Monday Night Raw, aka Day 1. Now, we did not get an appearance of Veer Mahan. We did not get an appearance of Sangha. But interesting here at Triple H was hyping up the return of a former WWE champion. The crowd, everybody was thinking, oh, is it Big E? Is it Brock Lesnar? Is it some other big name that we haven't seen in a long time? And here it came at 9 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time. We got the return. Oh my goodness, we got the return of the modern-day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal. That's right, the former WWE champion Jinder Mahal came in, and he came into a crowd of boos because everybody was expecting maybe Brock Lesnar, maybe Big E, or maybe the next guy that we're going to talk about, because midway through the little promo that he was talking about how he was getting disrespected and trashing America, none other than The Rock, oh my goodness, the great one, the People's Champion, came into a loud pop in San Diego, California. If you smell what The Rock is cooking, and oh my goodness, The Rock came and everybody just went crazy. And then all of a sudden, I know this is going to go a little bit beyond the 3 minutes, but I just wanted to catch myself here. We got a little moment of The Rock and Jinder Mahal sharing the ring. And yes, The Rock did take some personal jabs on Jinder Mahal, just the best way he always does. Always the way that, just a little bit spicy the way how The Rock does it. And yes, we did get the crowd getting involved, calling him none other than a day one douchebag. And yes, we also got very funny that he mentioned that, oh, I did not see Baywatch. I did not watch this movie. And The Rock says, it doesn't matter if you didn't see Baywatch. And yes, we did get the best, one of my favorite parts of this segment, where he gives him the padded elbow, the people's elbow, to Jinder Mahal, as Jinder Mahal was getting pissed off after the crowd was singing Day One Douchebag and comparing him to one of his worst movies, throwing him under the bus in the movie Baywatch. But other than that, I gotta say, my one pet peeve about this is that where was Veer Mahan? Where was Sangha? We could have had a 3-on-1 beatdown on The Rock with the Initiator dominating. But regardless, I enjoyed this segment. I know that a lot of people are talking about this. And with that being said, I'm going to close it off here because I'm going beyond my 3 minutes. This is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay with me, my friends, and peace.
Hey, DJ. Well, yeah, it's not exactly what you want to see happen if you're a Jinder Mahal fan. But at the same time, think about where Jinder Mahal was, over the last 6 months. The answer is nowhere. I mean, right? So even if he was at the receiving end of a people's elbow, being in the ring with The Rock is, you talk about going from, rags to riches. He was backstage in catering last week, and for the last 6 months, now he's in the ring with The Rock the next week. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, you knew he was going to get his ass kicked. That's just what happens, and the segment, pretty much was set up for that. But if you're looking at this on the positive, that's a hell of a rub for Jinder Mahal. And I actually said that I think Jinder Mahal's underutilized. I wouldn't mind in seeing him on a semi-regular basis. He's got some great heel qualities. He really does. He can talk. He can really... He is a very, very much a Muhammad Hassan. Those of you that watched in 2004, 2005. Very much a Muhammad Hassan. Very much. That's a compliment. But DJ, I'm glad you did the search. I had a feeling that's how I think a lot of people find us, is through just general search. But I mean, I don't know. You just typed in WWE Podcast, which still baffles me that the name wasn't even taken. Like, how did WWE themselves not even come up with this? How do I have the domain WWEpodcast.com? Like, I saw it. I'm like, how does... It's just too obvious that it wasn't taken. That's why. I don't know. But thank you, DJ. And hopefully we see your team of the end of Sheer very soon. Probably in the Rumble at the very least, right? Okay, let's keep going.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking, finally, The Rock has come back to WWE. And the French guy couldn't be more happy about that. 2024, baby. Come on, The Rock, finally. After months, after years of teasing us, now is the final teasing at the end of the promo of Monday Night Raw. He wants to sit at the head of the table. He can't do so. You can't sit at the head of the table. You are the true head of the table. All this time, we've been thinking about The Rock. All this time, we've been speculating about The Rock. Now he's here. 2024, baby. The Rock has come back. I am so glad. So glad The Rock has come back. Still the same talker. Still electrifying the crowd, electrifying America, electrifying the world, electrifying your French guy. This is so good. Now The Rock has finally come back. I don't know, Elimination Chamber, but no, I want The Rock at WrestleMania. I don't know. I think he will be for the title. It's unusual. I don't think it's a good idea. But, it's not today's statement. Today's statement is finally The Rock has come back. He should main event WrestleMania. I see comments of people saying, no, Cody needs to finish the story. All right, he will finish the story. But meanwhile, The Rock and Roman Reigns need to write the story. Write it. Write the story. Don't finish yours, Cody. You will finish. But now it is time to write the story. The Rock versus Roman Reigns. Who is the real head of the table? Bye, guys. Thank you, WWE. Thank you, world. Thank you, life.
Well, Alex, this is taking a shot in the dark. I could be totally wrong on this. So I apologize if I'm offending you, but it sounds like you're a Rock fan. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it, but I'll lean towards probably that you're a Rock fan and you're glad he's back. Just a hunch, but cool. I mean, I agree. It is very cool to see The Rock back. And it's one of those things that if you're not excited about it, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, The Rock is back. The biggest star in the world is back. Albeit for a short time. Albeit probably for a one-off. But so what? It's the match we all wanted. We're going to get. And there's not much more to say other than that. And the people that want Cody to be in the main event instead of The Rock at WrestleMania. Look, Cody's probably going to be in a world title match or in the Undisputed title match if he wins the Rumble. I think Cody Rhodes is still going to win the Rumble. I think Cody Rhodes is still going to win the Royal Rumble. And you're going to have him face Randy Orton for the world title or for the Undisputed title. I think that's probably where we're headed. There's a whole lot to look forward to, guys. And it sounds like you're as excited as a lot of people are there, Alex. So good to hear from you. And I'm glad that this was the passion of wrestling fans. I love it. So, all right, final voicemail coming up right now. Here we go.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to, first of all, Happy New Year. This has been New Year now. Happy New Year to you. But I wanted to go to from last night from Raw, the surprise appearance from The Rock. Of course, I didn't expect that to happen. Like, he didn't appear again like he did last year, but didn't tease anything with Roman Reigns. This is the first time he actually said something about Roman at this point. But I guess I can understand why people want to see the match of WrestleMania. It is the bigger match than it is the bigger match than Cody Rhodes. But I guess in terms of, I guess take a terrible decision. I feel like in terms of not terrible decision, but take the two evils here. Do you want to see Roman Reigns and The Rock in a championship match at WrestleMania, or a championship match with I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know what they do with Cody Rhodes if it isn't Roman Reigns. That's just the problem. I know he has more of a history with Seth Rollins, and Rollins is going to be busy with CM Punk, and so at WrestleMania, so it just seems I don't know. It seems kind of, I don't know what they plan to do with Cody Rhodes. I guess that's the fun part to watch along to see what they do. But you would think somehow he'll be also get involved. How they going to intertwine Rhodes and Randy as well? So that's going to be very interesting. It all comes down to what they do at the Elimination Chamber too, as well. Not just what they do at the Royal Rumble, yes, because I think Punk is winning the Rumble probably, but also what they do at the Elimination Chamber. So I don't know, but that's just my thought. If they do Cody, Roman Reigns, and The Rock for WrestleMania, doesn't really necessarily need to be for the championship. That's just that's a lot of people think it should be. I don't know. I think for me personally, I'm just dead with this, anything with Roman Reigns that I just wanted to just be over with at this point, and I just don't care. I'm just shut out because I'm not really all that invested. I'm just invested in the women's division as a whole, so maybe that's just my personal preference that I don't really necessarily care. And then I'm just interested in what Seth and Punk are doing for WrestleMania. That's what I'm mostly the only championship match I'm personally interested in at that point with the men is Rollins and Punk, and that's the match for WrestleMania. So that's just my quick thoughts on last night's Raw, and we'll see what happens. Set it into next week. So, but that's it. Thanks for a call. Bye.
All right, Kyle. Good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in every week. Listen, I think you might get your wish. If you're tired of Roman, I really believe the Royal Rumble could be it for him. Really do believe that. Randy Orton's a formidable opponent. He is more believable to beat Roman than The Rock is when it comes to championship matches because Randy Orton's are going to be around for a lot longer than The Rock is. Randy Orton could go on a bit of a mini run if he wins, and then you have Cody Rhodes win the Rumble. As I've said, I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself. It seems like everybody is thinking of different ways to get the belt off of Roman, and I think this is the way you do it. You have him lose at Rumble. The Rock costs him. Boom. Title match. Gone from The Rock and Roman. It's just about pride. It's about family, which is what it should be about, and makes the outcome infinitely more unpredictable. And then you have Randy and Cody. And then on the World Championship side of things, you have Punk and Rollins. So this is a fairly simple solution. I think it's there, right for the taking. So we'll see. That's what I think is going to happen. As of this moment, as I completely undermine my preview and prediction show for the Royal Rumble in a couple of weeks. Things could change. Absolutely things could change. But I think that's where I stand right now. All right, well, that'll do it for me tonight, guys. Thank you for everyone calling in, the few callers we had, and the litany of emails that we have. I appreciate all of them because you guys take the time to send them in. I take the time to read them the best that I can. And if you want to get priority placement that you heard all the patrons get at the beginning of the show, you can join Patreon for $1 a month. That's one of the benefits. You go up in tier, you get more stuff, you get an exclusive show. You even can come on the show. There's even merch if you go up for far enough in our tiers. We have t-shirts, we have mugs. You can even go to www.podcast.com and get yourself a VIP membership. It's all ad-free stuff. You can go to Apple Podcasts and get yourself ad-free as well. Free trial on Apple Podcasts, free 7-day free trial on Patreon. Lots of ways that if you guys are tired of the ads, great place to go and fix your problem. So for a very minimal investment, I mean, I really can't make it any cheaper than $1 on Patreon. So I don't know if that's a kind of tells you guys how I value my own business. It's like, yeah, it's it's only worth $1. That's all I'm worth. So anyway, thanks so much everybody for listening. I'll be back on Sunday with your weekend review. And just so you know, I have a few female guests lined up as I put out the feelers for a female host, co-host, or running their own show to come on and kind of test the waters. We have some new female hosts and co-hosts that'll be joining me for the weekend review, maybe even for the Monday Night Raw review next week, because I think a female voice is absolutely needed on the show. I missed it. We had a couple great ones in Ashley and Mimi, who they were such a fun part of the show, and I think it's time to bring some more women into the fold. So, alrighty, thank you so much everybody for listening. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.